Hey fish friends, Zenzo with Tazawa Tanks, back with another video. So how's everyone doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm down here in the fish room. I was just cleaning some of my equipment and doing some sterilization and thought I'm going to make a quick little video to talk about service. So for those of you that might not know or are new to my channel, I have an aquarium service business that's it's kind of a supplemental side business that I created a couple of years ago. It's not my main source of income. It's just a secondary company that I created to basically help pay for the hobby and be able to keep 30 plus tanks and do all kinds of things with fish and not have to worry about that expense. So I get a lot of questions from people on Facebook groups, from friends of mine that are interested in the fish service business, from people on YouTube. So I thought I would answer some of those questions. I'm not going to talk today about equipment. I made another video about that. I'll put a link to that video towards the end of this one that talks about, different types of equipment that you might want to have. And it just kind of touches on it. There's a long list of things that you really need to consider. What I will talk about briefly though on the equipment side is be prepared to make an investment. So you can't just use your little algae scrubber that you have and your Python or your siphon that you have and your 3 buckets. You're going to need a lot of equipment because you're going to encounter lots of different situations, a lot of different tanks, saltwater systems, reef systems, freshwater systems, bracket systems maybe, large tanks, small tanks, stairs, long distances, hallways, all kinds of things that are a lot different than just your home environment where you are currently keeping fish and you have a system where it's very easy for you to service your own tanks. So in my case, I have garbage cans and pumps and all kinds of buckets and a suitcase full of all kinds of gear that I have to carry with me. So it's a full carload of items that I'm bringing with me just to do even one tank or a couple of tanks in a day. So be prepared to invest, a good amount of money into that equipment, and that's kind of a one-time expense. And once that's done, you'll be pretty set and just kind of, maintaining your equipment and buying additional conditioners and chemicals and things like that, salt that you're going to need to service tanks. So a couple points I want to talk about today, and one of those is really doing your research before you decide to set up your service business. So in that research, you want to understand your market and you want to be able to understand the area that you're going to work in, right? So I would say to look at kind of a radius of where you live and think about how far will you be willing to travel to service customers. Now, personally, I have customers that are 30 miles in one direction and 20 plus miles in the other direction. And that is pretty difficult, especially here in the San Francisco Bay Area. One of them I have to cross a bridge. One of them is very bad traffic. So I had to consider that when I took on customers outside of my kind of immediate circle. And I had to figure out, okay, is it worth my time to drive down that way? Can I do it on a weekend? So both of those customers are weekend jobs only. I will not do those during the week at all, even if it's evenings. It's just not worth it from a time and traffic standpoint. So it ends up working out for me in that aspect, and then also because it's kind of outside of my immediate circle, my radius footprint of where I live. I do have an additional surcharge for going outside of that area. So you'll need to consider how far you're willing to drive, and then once you've done that, you want to look at that market and determine what type of competition is in that market. So whether it's an aquarium service business that you are setting up, or a restaurant, or anything, any kind of business, you need to look at what that market is looking like as far as competitors already in that segment. If there are a lot of other aquarium service businesses already established, it may not make sense for you to jump in. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't. It just means that it's going to be harder to kind of get yourself going, and you might have a slow start. Do your research and then look at who's in that area. Now, it might be that there's a specialized service company in your area that really focuses on doing reef tanks for restaurants and things like that. And it might be that you're going to be more focused on doing home aquariums and freshwater systems. So really look at and figure out where your niche is and would you be able to carve out some space for yourself. The other thing that I want to talk about briefly is that it's hard work. It's not easy. And when we're here at home and like down here in my fish room, I have 20 26 tanks or something like that. 20, I don't know. I've got a lot of tanks down here, 26 I think. And I can service all of these tanks in about 90 minutes. So that seems like, oh, I can do a lot of tanks in 90 minutes. But the reality is I might go to a customer and do one tank in 90 minutes. And that's the case for one of my customers actually, where I do one tank and it takes me about 90 minutes to service this tank. It's a big job. I've got to go up and down stairs and move hoses around. So it's not easy. So it is hard work. So definitely be prepared to be able to commit to the time. And then in that same vein of commitment, once you do have a customer, that customer is going to rely on you to service his or her tank and do it on a routine basis. So if you decide to take on a customer, you have to say to yourself, okay, can I commit myself to coming to this home or to this business every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, whatever it is that you set up, and do their tank all of the time? So that is something to consider. The other thing that I would recommend if you are going to do a service business is talk to the local fish stores in your area. Local fish stores are not the big box stores, so your Petco's, your PetSmarts, all those type of stores. And I'm not saying anything bad about them. And we've all shopped there from time to time. A bunch of these tanks came from Petco because they have their dollar per gallon sales. So thank you to them for that. But they are not going to help you in your service business, and it's probably against their policy to recommend anybody anyway. They might have a bulletin board where you can put some information up, but really you want to talk to your local fish stores, your private mom and pop stores, and be able to talk to them. They might know you already, and they might say, hey Sally, it's not a good idea. Hey Joe, there's a bunch of people already in the segment. Here's 10 business cards that I already have of other service companies. Or they might say, yeah, it's a great idea. I've never, had anybody in this area to recommend. And, I know that you're really into saltwater and there's a lot of people that can use your help. Whatever it may be, talk to your local fish store, get their feedback. And if you do have a good relationship with them, and if you can establish a rapport with them, they might be able to refer some business to you. So that's about it. Just a quick little video to share a couple of my thoughts on setting up your own service business, and just making sure that if that's something that you do want to do, really do your homework, do your research, talk to a lot of people. I'd be happy to answer any questions. If you have something specific, feel free to shoot me a private message or something like that here on YouTube. You can send me a direct message on Instagram at Tazawa_tanks on Instagram. You can shoot me a message. I'm also on Twitter as well, Tazawa Tanks on Twitter. So there's a lot of ways to get a hold of me. You can also send me a direct email. My email address is in my information on my page. So if you go to the About Me, and then you can see that my email address is there. You can shoot me a message as well. So if you do have some specific questions, I'd be happy to answer, and share with you what I know and my experiences and give you some advice. But anyway, I would just say that if you are about to do this, do your homework. Don't just jump in. Make sure that you're prepared, because I'd love to see you be successful in your endeavors. That's all I had for now. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.